I hope by now we are all in agreement that the tariff strategy that the Trump regime is attempting to implement is indeed inflationary. I'm not here to debate the effects of the economy. This should be painfully clear. Tax the imports at a higher rate. The importer pays the higher tax. The customer pays the difference. I will grant them this. If coupled with a strong investment in domestic industry, reversing decades of neoliberal decimation of the American blue-collar sector, I'd actually praise their efforts. Alas, this is not the case. We've seen no effort from this administration to build America back into an industrial hub and manufacturing powerhouse. In fact, the if we add up the big beautiful bill, ICE rates, and cuts to domestic subsidies, this all paints a picture of a very anti-working class regime. I'm more interested in the international effects, at least for this video, of the tariff regime and how they continue to isolate us from the rest of the world. If you are of the mindset that America can survive in a bubble, why are we going to such lengths to intimidate the rest of the world from doing business with China? If we can indeed be America first and only America, then what's the big to do with everything that they're trying to implement? As of this writing, the tariffs have a pause deadline of August 1st. The self-imposed deadline works both ways. Countries need to come to the table to make a deal with the Trump regime, but also the Trump regime has until this deadline to make good on the promises made to their base. As someone who's chronically online, I can tell you that this is probably the thinnest the base has been in a long while. With the recent failure in handling the Epstein files, they desperately need a win if they care at all about continued support by the base. I'll likely discuss what 2026 and 2028 may look like in another video for both sides, because I'm very interested in seeing a rise, and this is kind of off topic, seeing a rise in actually leftist conversations online versus actually fascist conversations online, the rise of both. If 2028 is going to be some sort of 2026 or 2028 is going to be some sort of turning point where we go hard in one direction or another, likely by force. That's how divisive this regime has been, but we'll discuss that in another video. As of now, the highest tariff is 30% to China, set to go up by 55% by the deadline. The lowest is 10% to several other countries, which is the baseline, 10% to most. The actual lowest is to Russia, by the way, which is a country that we actually did do trade with up until not too long ago. That's 0%. As of this writing, again, out of 180 countries, we only have 2 cemented deals with the Trump regime: the China deal and an agreement with Vietnam, which includes a 20% tariff and a 40% for any transshipment. So a transshipment is like something comes from China to Vietnam and goes from Vietnam to the US, that's 40%. So it's not something that comes directly from Vietnam. On top of that, Vietnam faces the threat of an additional 10% due to its ties to BRICS, becoming its 10th partner nation a month ago. And here's where things start to spiral for the Trump regime, and this is where you start to see that it's not just the emperor that has no clothes. In my opinion, the entire colonial project is pretty naked at this point. The BRICS, BRICS, is currently composed of 11 countries. Its 5 original members, Brazil, China, India, Russia, and South Africa, and 6 new members admitted in 24-25, Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. The group was originally composed of Brazil, Russia, India, and China in 2006. South Africa adhered in 2011. The new expansion is effective as of 2024, derived from the Johannesburg Declaration from 2023. According to the mandate agreed upon through the Johannesburg Declaration, the leaders approved the creation of the BRICS partner country category during the Kazan summit in 24. The BRICS partner countries are Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Nigeria, Thailand, Uganda, and Uzbekistan. In its capacity as pro tempore BRICS chair, the government of Brazil announced the formal admission of Vietnam as a partner country of the group. So just so you know, the BRICS chair rotates every so often. When people think of BRICS as a China project, to an extent, sure, and I'll talk about that more. But just know that the country technically in charge of the project changes every so often. The Trump regime is pro-Russia, and anti-China. I'm going to say that again. The Trump regime is pro-Russia and anti-China. Donald Trump's well-documented affinity for strong world leaders seems to have been affected when it comes to China. Perhaps this is a mandate from the bipartisan foreign policy monitors in the depths of the swamp, combined with a revival of a push towards expansion of the imperialist project. Maybe notable anti-China hawk Peter Navarro has some sort of dirt on the grand leader being Donald J. Trump. Regardless of the real reason, this regime is actively using this tariff strategy to bring to heel all countries who are either actively trading with China or have a favorable relationship with the dragon in the East. Proof positive here is the recent threats to Mexico after sending a delegate to the BRICS 25 conference in Brazil. Now, easily, any pro-regime, any pro-Trump person will immediately say, well, no, Mexico it's all about the fentanyl and the cartels and blah, blah, blah. I want you to Google Trump's relationship with the cartel. I want you to Google the CIA's relationship with the cartel before you come in here and start saying stupid shit like that. Mexico is not a BRICS member, but was invited to attend. Mexico, who has been seemingly appeasing Trump and simultaneously sticking up for Mexicans everywhere. Mexico, who has a strong relationship with China. Now, I don't mean to conflate. Here we go. I don't mean to conflate BRICS with China, although most of the infrastructure is through China, and China is the one spearheading the goodwill tours and projects worldwide in preparation for a unified East and global South without the US dollar. Trump still deals favorably with Russia and India. And if you don't believe that Trump deals favorably with Russia, then again, take your head out of the sand and do your own research. The regime has decided to downplay the efforts of BRICS in unifying the world against the United States. Essentially, what I'm saying is there is a U.S. media concerted effort to downplay the legitimate impact that BRICS is starting to have and will have in the near future, where the majority of these countries are dealing not only in their own dollars, sometimes they're dealing for the most part without using dollars, which has become the weapon of choice of the U.S. in having soft and strong power throughout the world. They say things like it's a pipe dream, while not telling the people that BRICS is already replacing Western-backed institutions like the IMF. The latest example is loans from BRICS to Colombia, who has been a solid U.S. ally in South America. And these loans were in the Colombian currency. I don't know what that is right now. Instead of addressing the real competition from BRICS, they've made China the bad guy. Think about this. China has the cheap goodies we consume. We produce no cheap goodies. We offer expensive services, defense, tech, etc. We consume more than we produce. China knows this and is just playing the waiting game. BRICS has just surpassed the West in member nation population, with 52% of the world living in a BRICS allied country. I know that your American or Western sensibilities are going to say, well, it doesn't matter if it's 52% of the world, numbers don't matter. We are America, we are the West. Shut the fuck up. The recent attacks on Iran, likely a heat check telling Iran to back away from support of China and this new project. But if you are Iran, with infinitely larger oil reserves, would you kneel to the dying empire or hitch your wagon to the rising star? In conclusion, the grand leader Donald Trump, sometimes I laugh at myself, and that's all I really need. In conclusion, the grand leader Donald Trump and his incompetent regime can impose tariffs, yell at Canada, threaten to own the moon, etc., etc., etc. But what they can no longer do is twist the world's arm into doing the West's will. In an abusive relationship, such as the one the West has with the South and the East, at some point, the abused get fed up, and all it takes is a spark of hope to claw out of the desperate situation they are in. What's even more interesting than this yelling into the void by Donald Trump is that for all the Red Scare propaganda and the dehumanization of non-whites by the US media, it seems that these BRICS and BRICS-allied nations are simply moving on with their lives. They're setting themselves up for economic success. They're not infiltrating the United States hoping to overthrow the government, install their own dictator. They are not dropping bunker buster bombs onto the White House lawn. No, that's what the American government is doing. So yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. This is going to be the format for this. Moving on, I might start doing some editing here and there. The point is for people to listen to this. You don't have to watch my face. I might throw up some images here and there from now on, but this is definitely going to be the format because I do some research and have my own thoughts on all this stuff, and I want to be able to put them in a concise way. If I try to riff like a lot of people do, it's just not going to come out the way I want it. So even though this is probably not how a lot of people do it, I don't really care. This is important information, and just like the name of the channel suggests, this is not for you. This is for the future. This is for people to know and understand, hey, what happened to the United States? Or, hey, why did China become this? Or why do people not trust the government? Blah, blah, blah. When we have questions 5-10 years from now, I want to have recorded some part of the answer so that people are not dependent on the mainstream bias. And you can fact check everything I said. Thank you.